Singapore, and we're going to be traveling all over the island to show you some of the best local food.
Singapore is a country obsessed with food. The food culture here is diverse and delicious. This is our second video from Singapore, and we're travelling all over the island to bring you the best local food. Watch out for mouth-watering Hokkien noodles, Singaporean classics, and one of the best hawker centres on the island. In this 4-part series, we're hunting down the country's most authentic and tasty food, from local favourites to food you'll find nowhere else. You don't want to miss this series. Get ready for some mouth-watering food.
I'm Thomas.
And I'm Sheena, and we're chasing a plate.
We hope you're hungry. Let's eat.
We're all about finding the best local food in the cities that we visit, so we can give you an insight into a country's food culture. So on this channel, you are not going to find food which has been created just so you can put it on Instagram. There aren't going to be any rainbow bagels, no soft serves which are coated in gold leaf, none of that. It's all about authentic and delicious flavors. We're starting this video in a hawker center which is out west. And this first dish is a noodle dish called lor mee, and it is certainly authentic, and let's hope it's delicious.
So this first dish we're having, lor mee, is from a hawker centre, but this hawker centre is quite far out west on the island. So Singapore's a very small island nation, so it's really easy to actually cover a lot of ground when you're here. It's quite easy to not go far and stay close to the centre of town, but we really love jumping on the buses and the trains and getting way out of the centre and finding some really incredible food at these hawker centres. So this lor mee looks amazing. We're ready to dive in.
How good does this lor mee look? It is a hodgepodge of different ingredients. Well, lor mee is probably best known for the gloopy, sticky, gluggy gravy. Look at that. It is so gloopy and thick. And then you've got all of these different ingredients. There's a ton of stuff in here, so let me talk you through what we've got. There's the Hokkien Chinese pork roll, which is called ngoh hiang. It's been deep fried. Tons of thick noodles just coated with that gravy. There's some fish cake here, some fish flakes. We got the fish lor mee. What else is there? A braised egg, some coriander, a dollop of chili. She squirted some black vinegar on there, and oh look, there's also some pork in there, some braised pork. So let's just get into this thing. I'm going to coat those noodles with that gravy. Let's try it. That gravy is epic. You can taste the 5 spice in there, and it just it's not heavy, it's actually quite light. I want to mix everything through to get that chili and vinegar coating all of the ingredients. Check out this pork roll, it looks real good. It's really fresh, so it's still quite crunchy on the outside. So much flavour. Mixing everything in together really did the trick. You can taste the tanginess from the black vinegar that she added at the end, and then just a beautiful subtle spice. This is just heaven. Okay, one more bite with a bit of this pork belly and some fish. That gravy all through my hair. Oh, it's so good. The fish is quite a strong flavour. It tastes a little bit like mackerel. I know that traditionally they use red snapper, but it tastes stronger than that. And the pork belly will just melt in your mouth. This is just hearty, really soul-satisfying food.
The next stop on this food hunt has taken us right up to the north of Singapore. So we've gone right from the west all the way up to the north, and we're here for a laksa, and this is a classic curry laksa. And based on the huge queue at the stall, this is going to be incredible.
The line moved really quickly at this stall, and the stall doesn't even have a name. It literally just says laksa, but it's so popular, which can only mean good things. And the bowl of laksa is small but perfectly formed. There's so many delicious looking ingredients in here. So we've got rice noodles, there are bean sprouts, there's tau bok, which is tofu puffs, there's some slices of fish cake, there's half a boiled egg. It's all swimming in this coconutty looking curry broth, and then I added a dollop of sambal, which is chili paste, and then a sprinkling of laksa leaf, which is Vietnamese coriander. So what I'm going to do is just give it all a big mix up, get those flavors moving around, all working together. Okay. Those noodles are really bouncy and still have a little bit of texture, and that broth has got a real spicy hit. I think it might be from that sambal, it's quite hot. Oh, but that broth is so creamy and rich. I also found some cockles hiding at the bottom of the bowl, so let's just load up a bit of a spoonful, get more of those noodles on there, and then one of my favorite ingredients in a bowl of laksa, the tofu puffs. They act like a sort of a sponge, soaking up all of that broth. Holy moly, it's so good. When you bite down onto the tofu puff, it explodes with all of that broth in your mouth. The flavors are just beautiful, so spicy, creamy, really well-rounded, and quite a light bowl of laksa. It's not too heavy and rich.
That was such a good and such a well-rounded laksa.
And we love finding little gems like that. It's literally just a pokey little stall at the bottom of a public housing block. And this is really common in Singapore. You don't have to go to all of those mega hawker centres to find good food. Little gems dotted all around the island are just waiting to be discovered.
Next up, we're at one of our favourite hawker centres in Singapore. It's called Old Airport Road. It's also one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in Singapore. It has over 70 different hawker stalls, and we're going to try a couple of places here today. We've purchased the first snack, so a couple of curry puffs, one of my favourite snacks here in Singapore. And second, we're going to get some chee cheong, which is another one of my favourite snacks in Singapore. It's basically a giant steamed noodle. I just love these two snacks. So this is the chee cheong, so it's basically a giant noodle. So she takes a rice flour batter and puts it out on a cloth which is over a steamer, and it's incredibly thin. So she lays that out over the steamer, puts the filling on top. We've got two sorts here. We've got a char siu, or a pork one, a barbecue pork, and we've got a prawn version. So she lays the meat or the protein, or there was an egg one as well, so whatever goes inside on there, steams it away, and then pulls it off that steamer, wraps it up, and it's so delicate and so thin and silky, that that noodle, that it's really hard to deal with, so you have to be very careful. And then just chops it up with a plastic spatula, and this is the end result. So once that's all cut up and put on the plate, it gets covered in a sweetened soy sauce. So that's a really thin sweetened soy sauce. We've got some fresh spring onion, we've got some fried onions on top, and going a little bit off piece from traditional, we've put a bit of chili with it as well. So normally you wouldn't get chili with this dish, but it felt right to just have a little kick on top of it. It's something I think you do more so here in Singapore than you would in Hong Kong, where this dish is actually from. And then from the first shop, we got these curry puffs. So we got two sorts, and just look how buttery and flaky they look. So the dots should represent what's what. So I think the one with a single dot will be the sardine version, and this one was called black pepper, but I think it's chunks of pork in a black pepper sauce. They look incredible, but I'm going to start with the chee because that's getting cold. And my favorite is always the char siu or the barbecue pork, so I'm going to start with that. Let's rip some off the end. I'm going to go with a bit of chili, so a bit off piece. That's got a nice bit of that sweetened soy sauce on it. It is so silky. So that rice flour noodle on the outside just dissolves. It's just a beautiful, smooth silkiness. It's really good. I'm gonna have some without the chili actually. The chili is a little bit overpowering. Oh, the pork in that one, I could actually taste the pork that time. So it's fine little bits of pork, and they're a little bit sweet. You know, really nicely barbecued, just nice and soft, really tasty. Let's get a prawn one while we're here. So look, that whole prawn's in there. So I'll just flip that over. So a whole prawn inside, and a whole lot of that noodle. Oh yeah. Oh, that prawn. So they were not pre-cooked, they went on raw. So they just steamed very quickly to cook them, and it's perfectly cooked. Nothing worse than overcooked prawn. When it gets all chewy and a bit squeaky on the teeth, none of that at all. Amazing. All right, curry puff time. So I'm gonna go with the sardine one, because this is my ultimate favorite style of curry puff. Whoa. Whoa. Oh, that is crumbly. Wow. Oh my god, it's so buttery. That pastry has absolutely and utterly coated my mouth. So buttery, just flaked apart. But the inner, the sardine mixture is really good. It's just peel it apart. So look at that. Basically a curried sardine mixture with a whole lot of onions. It's got a nice little bit of chili going on. You can see some red chilies in there. Oh, it is a beautiful spice. Really good, and then a great hit of chili. And it's got a great sweetness to it, and you can really taste the sardine, which I really like. I mean, look at that filling. It's absolutely packed, and the filling is not dry at all. Sometimes with the curry puff, they can be really dry inside, but that is super wet. Incredibly good curry puff. Great food centre and two brilliant snacks. Those stalls came highly recommended, and they were super tasty.
That curry puff was actually a black pepper chicken curry puff, and the chicken was super moist and it had a beautiful hit of black pepper.
So juicy, so good.
Such a great day of eating in Singapore.
That was an incredibly good, so these two snacks are